Are you able to do more push-ups now than you did a month ago? If that's a yes, then you are making progress. Hey guys, and welcome back to It's Pretty Simple, a podcast for all things fitness, fat loss, and just life. Just trying to simplify things so that you can use these tools in your journey, whatever your goal is. Today I want to do an episode about the weighing scale. I made this reel and it surprisingly really took off, and it was pretty much just me recording my weight a whole day, and I think it got over 150k views. And so I figured, why not do an episode about it? So weight is something that I think has been put into our minds from a very young age about how much you should weigh given your height and your age and all of that stuff. However, weight is pretty useless in terms of understanding really what's happening with you. And I think that people who check their weight obsessively need to just stop, because your body weight consists of so much more than just your body fat, and your weight does not define your self-worth, and your weight does not define you in any way or form. Obviously there are instances where somebody is obese and severely overweight and you do need to bring your weight down, but most of the time, like at least clients that I have or people I speak to, like the first thing I say, like, what do you want? Like, what is your goal? And they say to lose weight. So I always try to ask them, is it really to lose weight or is it to lose body fat? Because it is essentially two different things. I mean, if you're going to lose weight, all you have to do is cut down your calories and, start moving a lot more, and you're going to end up losing weight. But in the process, you lose muscle as well, which is something we don't want to do. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. And let's just jump straight into it. So I'm going to share a personal story with you. So many years ago, just before I started my fitness journey, I was between 47 kilos to 49 kilos, and that was it. And it was a very low weight to have, and I wasn't training or eating well or anything. I was lucky. I had a pretty fast metabolism growing up, and so all the junk food that I had just really made no difference to me. All the alcohol I was drinking made no difference to me. I used to have Canada Dries and Coca-Colas like all the time, and Pizza Hut was like a thing every single couple of days. But I was at my lowest weight. Now, while I was at that weight, I had a pretty high body fat percentage for my age and my height. I mean, given the fact that I did have a faster metabolism, I had no muscle mass essentially. So I think I was at about 26% of body fat. And then obviously after I started training, building more muscle and everything, I mean, fast forward a few years because I don't really check these things that much. The last time that I had done a check, I think I looked my best, I think 2 years ago, and I was at 53 kilos. So that's significantly higher than what I used to be. And my body fat percentage was at 16%. So what happened there was my body composition changed. I had lost a lot of fat, but I also built a lot of muscle, hence the increase in the body weight. So for me, body weight has never been something that I've actually paid too much attention to. Also, the only reason I have this weighing scale at home is because I actually wanted to create that video, because I just realized how bizarre it is. Because I actually had a new client who was checking her weight every single day, and I asked her, like, what is the purpose of you doing so? And I was like, you know what, I think I need to create a video and explain to people how ridiculous it is to be checking our weight all the time. There's so many factors that go into this, which we're going to jump into right now. So from the moment you wake up, your weight is going to fluctuate till the moment you go to bed. And by the end of the night, you probably would have gained a kilo and a half, right? From just your day-to-day activities, your food, if you've trained or not, will also actually make your weight increase. So let's look at all the reasons why your weight fluctuates. So one reason is muscle inflammation post-workout. So after you've worked out, your muscles are going to get inflammation. So they are going to inflame, and this is a very normal process. So this process is part of the recovery process. And so when you have inflammation in your muscles, you'll have temporary weight gain. Basically, your muscles are repairing themselves so that you can get stronger. So if you've just done a gym session and you check your weight, you're going to notice that the weighing scale has gone up a little bit. So that's one reason. Second reason is PMS and water retention. So we've all been there, right? Like right before your period, you suddenly are like, oh my God, I'm so bloated. And if you step on the scale, you're going to realize that your weight is going to be up. And that's, again, a very normal thing for women. And if you actually track your weight on a weekly basis, you'll start to see that trend that just before your period, you're going to see that your weight is going to go up, and it's going to be a trend that's always going to happen. We feel bloated, we feel heavy, and the reason for this is increased progesterone in our hormones, basically. So what that does is basically makes your body retain more water. So during PMS, your weight can increase up to maybe even 2 kilos, but it's just water weight, so it's not body fat, so there's nothing to really worry about. Another reason that your weight can fluctuate is stress and cortisol. So we always have to look at our lifestyles, right? When you start to see an increase in weight, maybe you're eating right, maybe you're going to the gym. You also have to be looking at the mindset part of things. So if you are stressed, you are going to have increased cortisol levels, because when you're stressed, your body releases cortisol. And this hormone can actually cause you to also retain water. And then if you keep the stress going, eventually over time, it changes how your body stores fat. So if you are constantly stressed out, you will start to eventually store fat. But in the beginning, it's just water weight because of the hormone cortisol. So you'll start to realize, like, if you've got stressful things happening, the weight is going up even if you're not eating. And it's not fat, again. Obviously, like I said, over time, your body will start to store fat. However, that's not really what it is in the moment. And another reason is also sleep deprivation. This is a thing people don't understand how important your recovery is. If you are under recovered, you're going to retain water. If you are not getting enough sleep, again, your body is going to release cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and therefore having water retention. Now, why do people end up gaining weight with sleep deprivation other than cortisol? Now, if you are sleep deprived, you are naturally going to have your hunger hormone increase. Therefore, you're going to be making worse decisions when it comes to food. For example, if you're somebody who stays up really late at night, you're going to start to realize that the later you're up, the hungrier you are, and you're craving sugar. And that's because our bodies are supposed to sleep, and if you're staying up later than you're supposed to, your body releases cortisol. And that is basically saying, okay, why are we up? Is this flight or fright? And now I need sugar. This is just a natural reaction. So it's super important for you to get enough sleep, and don't do late nights. Staying up late is never going to lead to good decisions. And then if you're sleep deprived as well, the next day you are going to again make bad choices with food, and that's how you're going to end up gaining weight. But the point of what I'm talking about now is just the release of cortisol, therefore retaining water. Another reason for why your weight would go up is your bowel movement. I mean, some people don't go to the bathroom as regularly as they should, and if you are not going every single day, then I suggest you start including more fiber in your diet. But, depending on what you've eaten, if you notice, like, before you go to the toilet, you're going to weigh more, and then after you go, you're suddenly going to weigh less. So when you are tracking your weight, if that's something you choose to do, you got to make sure you do it after you've emptied out the tank. Now, if you are constipated or anything like that, again, it's not going to be very accurate what your weight is, right? And so that also plays a role. Another thing is, let's say you wake up in the morning, you've gone to the bathroom and everything, but your weight is still a bit higher. This could also mean that you've had more carbs the night before. So it's, again, water retention. Every gram of carbs, we hold 3 grams of water. So when we eat carbs, we obviously don't use that energy straight away, and so it turns into glycogen, and that molecule holds on to water. So if you've had more carbs the night before, your body's naturally going to be a little bit heavier the next day. Again, it's just water retention more than anything else. And this is why when people go low carb diets, they see an instant change in their weight. It's in the beginning, it's going to be water, right? Because if you're cutting out carbs completely, you're also not going to have that water retention from carbs. Therefore, your weight's going to go lower. And it's not sustainable in the long term because we need carbs for energy. Like, I would never tell anybody to go on a low carb diet because you need it. If you are training, if you are doing things day to day in your life, carbs are the first source of energy that our body uses. Therefore, it is an important part. So if you've noticed ever when you've cut down your carbs and you're like, I'm going low carb, and your weight drops and this worked for me, you're losing water. So definitely think about that. Because in the long term, you're just going to start to get more fatigued, you're going to have less energy, and you don't want that. And another reason is if you've had too much sodium, so a lot of salt as well can lead to water retention. So a lot of this fluctuation in weight is mostly related to water retention. And again, when somebody's never exercised before, never been on some sort of healthy diet, in the beginning, they're initially going to drop a lot of weight, and it's usually just water. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about what our body weight consists of. So your body weight consists of literally everything that you have. So your skin, your hair, your nails, your bones, your organs, your blood, the food in your stomach, the shit in your intestines, like literally every single thing is what makes up our body. So there's only a certain point you can get to with wanting to lose weight, because you can't lose all these other things that our human bodies are carrying. So it's very important to understand that you want to be losing fat, you want to be changing your body composition, and the weighing scale should not be the main source of you deciding anything about your progress. Which brings me to, how do you track your progress if you're not going to be using a weighing scale? So with my clients, I try to get them to do a weigh-in, usually in the beginning. It's just so that I kind of understand what's happening with their body, and then I ask them to weigh themselves once a week or once every 2 weeks, really depending on the individual. If somebody gets triggered by it, obviously we stay away from that. But it's really important for me to see how their body is reacting. I don't really tell them to focus on it. But like if somebody starts at a certain weight and we're doing the work and their measurements start to go down and their weight is going up, then at least I'm aware that they are building muscle, they are losing fat, body composition is changing. So this is why I ask them for these numbers, but I tell them not to focus too much on it. So what are the ways to actually understand your progress? One, progress pictures. They're honestly the best way. Taking pictures of yourself are super, super important to understand what is going on. Because if we're changing body composition, you will start to see that you are leaning out more, your muscles are becoming more visible, your bloating has probably gone down, whatever it is. So with body weight, the way I like to do it is I put my phone on the tripod, I press start for a video, and then I stand facing forward, sideways, and then backwards, and then you can just screenshot it and put your pictures side by side, and it's a very good way to actually understand what's happening. The second way is obviously how your clothes fit. Everybody has clothes that they say, oh, I fit into this before, now it's a bit too tight. So keep those jeans and track your progress through that, because you might see times where your weight will be up, but you're fitting into your jeans much better than you did, and that's because a change of body composition, which is essentially what we want. Body measurements is the third thing. So I ask my clients to track their stomach area instead of their waist usually, because that's usually the problem area and usually the last place most people lose fat. And then obviously your thighs, your arms, and not everybody measures every single thing. I always tell my clients, like, track what you want to track and where you feel like, okay, this is where you want to see some progress, and track it. But essentially it's chest, arm, waist, stomach, hips, glutes, thigh, calf. These are the main, and neck if you want, but usually it's just those. And measure it yourself, and the measurement won't always be accurate because you might be off a little bit, like 0.5 centimeters up and down depending on how you're measuring. But it's a good way to check, especially if you're focused on certain parts, then you're going to start to see the changes there as well. And again, if the weight is going up but your measurements are going down, body composition change is happening. And then finally, one of the most important ones is your energy levels and your mood. Like, if you have better energy, if you are in a better mood all the time, if you're not feeling fatigued and things like that, it's working, okay? Which means you're fueling your body well, you're exercising, so you're releasing endorphins. Having the right diet obviously will make a difference to your energy. If you're eating junk food constantly, you're going to notice that you're super lethargic and you like energy. But the moment you start introducing vegetables and protein and fiber, you're going to automatically see your energy levels go up. So that's another way to track your progress. And this has nothing to do with tracking your progress in the gym. This is purely to understand if your body composition is changing or not. When we're looking at the gym, some people are like, I'm working so hard at the gym and I'm not seeing any changes in my weight, for example. My question is, are you able to do more push-ups now than you did a month ago? If that's a yes, then you are making progress. Are you able to run an extra kilometer? If yes, you are making progress. Are you able to lift heavier than you did a month ago? If yes, you are making progress. So you can see if you're making progress or not from a lot of different things, because the weighing scale is really just so irrelevant to the entire process. And it can be such a downer when you're feeling great, your energy levels are epic, you just PR'd a squat, for example, and then you go and you check your weight and you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Well, there's no point of checking the weight because it could be so many things. So if the scale is making you feel like that, throw it out. Like I said, I haven't had a scale in years. Like, I moved here 3 years ago, never bought a scale. I just bought a scale to create content, and that's purely it. So if it makes you feel anxious, throw it out. It's unnecessary. I'd rather you take pictures of yourself every single day than check that number every single day. I mean, there are studies that have shown like people who obsessively track their weight are actually more stressed out and more anxious. So why are you making yourself feel that way for no reason? Like, there's no need to add more stress. And then if you're stressed, you're going to start to retain water. So the weighing scale, if it's actually causing you anxiety and stress, throw it out. It's so unnecessary to have, and it's really of no value, to be completely honest. It just goes back to like the 90s magazines and things when, they would put celebrities and then write their age and their weight. And just through that time, we've got this obsession with weight. And I know there's a lot going on now on social media, and people are talking about, being body positive and not looking at the weight and focusing on other things. It's something that I think it's kind of hard when you have that drilled in your mind. It's like there, and as much as you try to change it, it's hard, like any mindset change that you need to make, but it is going to benefit you. And I think this generation, I'm actually not sure, but maybe they have it better because it's no longer about how much weight you can lose. It's more about how healthy you can be and how strong you can be. And I feel like I'm assuming, could be assuming wrong, that the newer generation is a little bit better off in that sense. The weighing scale is not there. Maybe there are some kids who still are obsessed, but I think the way we were brought up, it was very in our faces about weight, and so you need to change that mindset part and change the way you view what body weight is. And like I said, your body weight is a lot of things: your bones, your organs, water, your muscles, all there. So remember that it doesn't reflect your strength, it doesn't reflect your endurance, it doesn't reflect your health, and it definitely does not reflect your self-worth or your value. Try to focus on getting stronger, being healthy, building muscle, and just improve your fitness instead of the weight. Like, I weigh more now than I did when I was at my lightest, but I'm fitter. I have a higher muscle mass, that's for sure. My endurance is really, really good. I'm stronger. So I'd rather be this weight than that weight, and be living this way than that way. So to wrap things up, weighing scale, useless. There's so many other ways to track your progress because number on the scale is really not the whole story. We have so many things that affect our weight, hormones, your sleep, water retention. So keep that in mind. If you've had a stressful period and you realize your weight has gone up, keep in mind that it's just your stress hormone releasing and you retaining water. Don't let the scale dictate your worth. Don't let it dictate your progress. I hope you found the tools that I've given you to track your progress helpful. Those are much better for you to use than the weighing scale. And obviously focus on how you feel and how strong you and healthy you feel. That's the most important thing at the end, isn't it? We want to change our body composition so that we can have more muscle, so that we can live longer and healthier and a happier life. And so keep that as your focus, not the weight. Thanks so much, guys, for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure to hit subscribe. I've noticed that there are people watching, listening, but not subscribed. It really helps to get me on the algorithm so I can spread my knowledge with more people. So make sure you hit subscribe. If you feel this episode was useful for you and maybe you have a friend who is a little bit obsessive with the weighing scale, do me a favor and send it to them so that they can understand that it does not dictate their value or their self-worth. So remember, you are more than the number on the scale, and I will see you next week, guys. Thank you. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay fit.